right, let's talk about the matchups this week. That's what we are going to talk about. Yes, I just repeated myself. So we are going to talk about the matchups. So let's go on and just say welcome to the Fantasy Football Wrap-Up. I'm your host, Blake Randall, along with my co-host, Jesse Geary.
Yes, sir.
All right, so right now, let's just go on and jump right into it. Actually, I'm going to just talk about a few key things real quick in terms of NFL news, injuries, and
right.
Ezekiel Elliott withdraws his suspension appeal, so he is going to serve his 6 games.
He's out 6 games.
He will return Week 16.
Yep.
All right, next, Devontae Freeman. He did not practice on Thursday. I don't think he's going to play at all this week.
Good news for Phillip Rivers owners.
Mm-hmm.
Did practice.
In full.
Should play.
In full. Cowboys, be scared. They're without Tyron Smith Sunday Night Football.
And Eagles defense owners.
They're going to be a little thirsty. All right, and here we go. And Leonard Fournette, he was limited in practice on Thursday. That ankle injury is starting to bug him again. So, Fournette owners...
There must be something else to that.
Yeah, I mean, he let a lot of people down last week. And I was thinking, he'll bounce back this week. But we'll see. I mean...
Right.
I mean, it's...
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just not I'm not trying to really worry about it. I mean, they got the Browns. Browns have a decent run defense. But I think once the Jaguars get rolling, they're going to get rolling. So, all right, let's go in and talk into the matchups this week. First game we're going to start off with, we're going to do the 1 o'clock games first. We are going to talk about the Detroit Lions going to play the Chicago Bears.
I think Lions beat the Bears by 2 touchdowns. If I have Amir Abdullah, I'm starting him this week, which I do, and I am. Bears defense didn't play well last week at home playing Green Bay, who basically, as a Packers fan, they have nobody. They had nobody. Everyone got hurt that game. Brett Hundley ended up coming in and making some plays. So Matt Stafford's going to shred this defense. I think Abdullah's going to get 20 carries. If you're a Bears fan, or not a Bears fan, if you have Bears players, you might start Inman, hoping to get to garbage time touchdown.
I think he's worth a play, like at least a flex play this week. I mean, if you're really hurting for somebody, I think, especially in a deeper league, I think he'd be a good, spot play this week.
And Jordan Howard might get volume, but if they're down big, which could happen, I don't expect him to get the ball very often.
Mm-mm.
It's just the game script I think is going to go is Detroit comes out, throws a few touchdowns, and then the Bears are playing catch-up from that moment on.
Yeah, I mean, Howard was my start of the week last week, and it didn't really pan out as the way I thought it would.
Yeah.
It went the opposite way.
Yeah.
Of course, there wasn't much of a run game in general in that game except for garbage time with Williams for the Packers.
Yeah. And, I mean, Darius Slay is going to shut down your number one, and the rest of their defense is playing really well. First-round pick middle linebacker from Florida, Davis is balling out. So, yeah, I don't start any backs against them or them.
In terms of Lions players, I would start Matt Stafford.
Yeah.
I would consider him. Golden Tate is another one.
He's been on fire. Got to start Tate.
Yeah, and I like the Lions deep. Oh, Marvin Jones. You got to start Marvin Jones. He's at least a wide receiver 2 or a flex play.
He's a sneaky good deep guy. He could easily get by the Bears for a touchdown.
Yeah.
I think Kenny Galladay is going to be a good red zone target. I think he gets a touchdown this week. I think Eric Ebron crawls back in his hole and disappears.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Abdullah's good for 20 carries, approximately, a few targets, probably gets about 85 yards total and a touchdown.
Yeah. Basically, like in terms of Bears for me, though, I think that Jordan Howard is the only one I would consider at least putting in my lineup.
Yeah.
That's about it. Because he's just one of those guys you have to put in your lineup at this point. You have to start him if you have him.
And you almost think somebody has to score for the Bears, but really, no, they don't. They just don't.
Mm-mm.
So,
all right.
I don't know.
All right, so moving on to the next game, we're going to talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars playing at Cleveland. And I did, point out in the other previous podcast that it's going to be a rainy day in Cleveland, typical Cleveland weather, just depressing. I think this is going to be a ground game. This is why I think, Fournette is a must start this week. But keep watch of that ankle. His updates throughout the week. Check, see what happens on Friday for practice. See what happens, what little updates. Because, it might be a game time decision. Because, they did pull, a few weeks ago, pull that trigger and say, hey, he's not playing this week, like an hour before the game. So I would say that if you got – it's tough because, I mean, that whole backfield's like all over the place in terms of like who's the actual handcuff. Is it T.J. Yeldon? Is it Chris Ivory? Is it Grant? Grant had that vulture touchdown. So
right. I like this news that come out from Jets rookie receiver D.D. Westbrook saying he's going to get 200 yards receiving in his debut because he's been on IR all season. His expectations are extremely high, and Allen Hurns is hurt, so he steps right into the lineup.
Yeah, which is why I like Marquise Lee this week.
Yeah.
I like Marquise Lee this week.
I think he started
in terms of
guys,
I feel like in terms of PPR leagues, you've got to start Marquise Lee. I mean, he is pretty much the number one receiver in Jacksonville, and he does get the looks. He gets the targets, and he gets the catches. Also, Hurns is out. D.D. Westbrook is hyping himself up to have a big monster game. We'll see if that happens just because, Blake Bortles is the quarterback.
Yeah.
In terms of Blake
It is
Bortles.
Cleveland.
Yeah.
But.
I mean, Cleveland's defense isn't the worst.
No.
They're not the best, but they have a decent defense against wide receivers.
Yeah.
So, in terms of Cleveland players, Duke Johnson's worth a flex play. Same with Crowell. He's been kind of kicking it back into gear. And
Sure.
Corey Coleman's supposed to come back, but
I think
this is not the week you want to start any receiver.
Stash him.
Just stash him.
He should be a favorite target.
I just feel like this is going to be a blowout for Jacksonville, regardless if Fournette plays or not. I think Jacksonville is just going to have their way with Cleveland because Cleveland's offense is not going to get anything going.
I agree.
All right, next game. Baltimore Ravens.
At the Packers.
At the Green Bay Packers.
That's it.
All right. You want to start with talking about Packers players?
Oh, Lord. If you got the Ravens defense, start them because Packers have no healthy running backs. It's worth owning. Jamal Williams had some time to prove it early in the season, did nothing with his time. Aaron Jones is hurt. Ty Montgomery's still not practicing. I don't expect him to play. Williams should be the start, and I don't even know who's going to back him up. Probably our fullback. So.
And then Ripkowski. Yeah, I heard he was going to be, if Williams is the only back to go, I heard Ripkowski's going to be the third down back.
Yeah, so he actually could be worth some value because he does catch balls well and he gets those short yardage, and he's a fighter. He's a grinder. So he could be good against that front in short yardage situations, but again, limited because it's the Packers offense. I don't start Hundley. I don't start any of the receivers at all.
Only one I would consider is Adams.
Is Adams?
Yeah.
Ravens,
but that's a flex play. That's but nothing more than that. Unfortunately, people are still thinking that Nelson could bounce back. I just don't see it with Hundley at quarterback.
Their pass defense has just been ridiculous. So I just stay away from. I think it's going to be an ugly game for the Packers because I think the Ravens are just going to chip away at them, and the Packers won't be able to do much of anything moving the ball.
And on the Ravens side of the ball, I'm looking at like the running back situation there. Danny Woodhead could possibly come back this week, but that's just that. I don't see him coming back this week. I see it being next week. Also, Alex Collins. Alex Collins is the RB1 there. It's a good matchup for him, but we'll see. I mean, Buck Allen could play too. It just depends on how the game flow goes in terms of, because last week, they were down so much that Buck Allen got more of the reps, more snaps out there, and, he had the better game because, Alex Collins is not the pass-catching running back at all. He's just the ground and pounder.
Sure.
Joe Flacco. No, I'm not going to consider Flacco. I do like Jeremy Maclin. I think Mike Wallace is too inconsistent. And, I don't think there's really anybody else worth thinking about or looking at in terms of the Ravens.
See, the thing with the Packers is I don't think the numbers don't tell the whole truth because our run defense is better than advertised, and our pass defense is worse than advertised. If I'm in this matchup, I'm not starting any of the Ravens backs with confidence. I could start Alex Collins because of the value, and he'll be starting, and they'll probably be ahead, or at least on, the game will be a close game, or they'll be ahead. So he should get his carries. But I also think that Joe Flacco could jump out on our pass defense. We've gotten beaten deep by pretty much everyone we've played since Aaron Rodgers just went out with injury. So I think you can start Maclin or Wallace for kind of a flyer. Our pass defense has been beatable. They've proven it. So,
Next game, we're going to talk about the dream matchup of quarterbacks.
Ooh.
You might have the Arizona Cardinals play the Houston Texans. You could have Blaine Gabbert.
You could have Gabbert, right? Yeah, that's right.
You could have Gabbert starting.
Gabbert
might be starting, and then you got Tom Savage. So, yeah, it's not going to be a pretty game. Honestly, I feel like I'm just going to jump on and say that the Cardinals are going to have a big defensive performance, and so yeah, it's just not going to be pretty. And I also see we're kind of distracted. We're also watching the Thursday night football game right now.
Shaq Matthews just caught a huge.
It was like 80-something yard touchdown.
Huge play. Yeah, it was from the 80. I think it was I think they got out to the 20-21. And then he just throws a post pattern and he just beats the corner inside, and he's the only person left. And of course, the guy that I'm playing this week has Rashad Matthews in his flex.
Looked like the first play in the third quarter.
It was. Yay!
All right. This game's getting a little interesting. All right, so back to the Packers. No, Cardinals, Texans. So Cardinals defense must start this week.
It's a weird matchup.
Yeah, very weird matchup.
Who's going to suck worse?
Offensively, I think the Texans suck worse just because I like the Cardinals defense better, just because the Texans defense is so injury ridden. But how does DeAndre Hopkins play going up against Patrick Peterson?
DeAndre Hopkins still is the top receiver in this league. He's still going to match up with Peterson, and he's still going to get his. I mean,
I don't think he's going to do as much this week.
No, he's not going to have the production
Savage
he's
is not
used
good,
to. Right, but
going into guys that are like that, close in defense.
With Fuller going out, with Fuller going out too, it's almost like the volume is still going to be there for Hopkins.
Mm-hmm.
He just.
I think this bumps up though Bruce Ellington.
He just got to get past it
for the Texans a little bit.
And really, Patrick Peterson their defense has been so sporadic that Patrick Peterson really isn't playing Patrick Peterson ball because the rest of the defense isn't playing sound defense. So I think Hopkins has the ability to break away and make a few plays here and there. I start him.
And I guess Lamar Miller. I feel like you just have to keep starting Lamar Miller. I mean, just because it's Lamar Miller. I'm not a big.
He's still doing enough to probably be a flex or a low end receiver too. I mean, running back too.
I'm not, too sold on. I mean, last week. I mean, but it's not too bad either though. Last week he had 60 yards, 14 receiving yards. So I mean, he's still getting involved, but it's just. I just feel like, once the game gets carried away, he's just going to, not be much of the person they're going to, involve. It's going to be Hopkins pretty much, and they're going to force feed the ball to Hopkins. I think C.J. Fedorowicz, plays better this week than he did last week. But, I mean, last week was his first game back of the season. So, Cardinals, Larry Fitzgerald, you could start. I would start Larry Fitzgerald. Adrian Peterson, I don't think I would want to start Adrian Peterson this week. I don't think he's not a guy that I trust at all. So I just don't, I just think with how Jadeveon Clowney's been playing, I think Clowney's going to stop anybody like that. AP's just not the same AP, and I've been saying that this whole season. He's had 2 good games where he was basically just fed the ball so much. I just don't believe in Adrian Peterson this year.
They're running him to death, and he's not as productive as he should be. To be getting 25 to 30 carries a game. Texans defense has their hands full, but I think they bottle up AP for the most part. I think Larry Fitzgerald is a good start. I mean, if you have AP as a RB2, you probably start him just because of the volume that he's getting and his ability to. He could have a big breakaway play, but I wouldn't hold my breath.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't, honestly, if your team's pretty bad and Adrian Peterson's your top running back, you're probably going to end up starting him, but I'm not buying into Adrian Peterson. I don't think he's that good. He's not the same guy that he was in 2014.
No, not at all.
So, I mean, I wouldn't think, there's no, risk of me wanting to flip a coin and say whether or not I should start Adrian Peterson or not.
Right.
I'm sitting the guy, and I'm just not going to think twice about it. All right. Oh, and I think the Cardinals win that game easily, too. I just feel like, just because Deshaun Watson was that much of a difference maker, I feel like we're Deshaun Watson fanboys. But I just feel like he was that much of a difference maker on the Texans' offense.
I'm completely bought in on the Deshaun Watson train.
All right, another game.
Start Arizona's defense. They're going to ball out.
Yeah. Another game. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Miami Dolphins. It's the battle of Mid and South Florida. Ryan Fitzpatrick versus Jay Cutler. I think this is Miami's game.
Me too. Buccaneers are hurt. I mean,
they got lucky against the my McCown train last week. That was a bad game though.
Evans is coming back, so the offense will play a little bit better, but I don't think they're going to be able to keep pace with the Dolphins and their two dynamic bats their offense has been running through. They've been efficient. They'll continue to be efficient. They'll put points on the board. Dolphins win by 10.
I think Dolphins. Yeah, I think it's like a 10-point difference, like 10 to 7 points. I don't see it being crazy, but you're gonna start Kenyon Drake. Jay Cutler is a good stream this week, in my opinion. Landry, Parker, you're gonna play them. Parker's a flex play for me. Mm-hmm. Landry is a wide receiver 2, in standard PPR he's a wide receiver 1. Kenny Stills is kind of falling off because Kenyon Drake's volume has went up. There's no one else on that. I'm not a big fan of Damian Williams. I don't think he's that good of a running back, and he's just kind of losing. He's just losing that. He lost that battle to Kenyon Drake a couple weeks ago. Tampa Bay. This could be a Doug Martin week. Didn't you say that Sue didn't practice?
Sue doesn't practice in 2 days. He has a knee injury that he sustained. I don't expect him. That's a tough one because he's such a tough athlete, and I can't see him. He's the defensive captain. He's actually the one that gets people lined up and makes some of a lot of the calls in the front seven. So I really just can't see him not being out there. But if this knee injury is as serious as it is, I mean, let's monitor it. If he don't play, Doug Martin should have a really good game.
I think a decent game. I mean, he'll get 70 yards.
I mean, especially
possibly a score.
Yeah,
I don't see him going crazy in this game, but but Mike Evans, you're going to start Mike Evans, and then you're also going to consider Deshaun Jackson. He actually played good last week with Fitzpatrick at quarterback, so I like that. I mean, it helps space the field out a little bit. And then the tight end Cameron Brate is a must start this week.
Oh yeah, Dolphins defense has been awful,
especially on tight ends.
Pass defense, yeah.
All right, so yeah. But Dolphins, in our opinion, Dolphins win that game. All right, game of the week for me, because I don't think there's any other game that's better, in my opinion, this week. This should have been the Sunday Night Football game. The Los Angeles Rams go to Minnesota to play the Vikings.
It's gonna be a good game because
both teams are 7-2.
Yep.
It's two. We got Jared Goff, who took over.
Right.
Case Keenum as the former Rams quarterback last season. Case Keenum has been playing good. So basically, their play, in my opinion, has been showing that Jeff Fisher was just trash. So I'm gonna say Goff is like this is where the schedule for Goff gets a little tough right here. So I want to say, you can consider Goff if he's now your top quarterback to play, but it's a tough defense to play up against. Todd Gurley, you're going to start. Robert Woods, you're going to start just because how he's been playing. He's been a PPR machine. He's been a standard league machine. So you're going to consider the guy no matter what. Sammy Watkins actually has had 2 touchdowns in a row. Last 2 games. He's been getting a little bit more productive in that offense. Cooper Kupp has actually fallen back a little bit. He's regressed just a tad bit.
Yeah.
So, you're going to consider him. Higbee's been stepping up as tight end, getting more looks out there, too. That Rams offense is just a fully functioning machine right now. And I'll go over to the Minnesota side of the ball. It's a great matchup for the running backs, for Murray and McKinnon. It's actually better for McKinnon because Rams are pretty bad against pass-catching running backs. So I think McKinnon's he was on my must start of the week list right there. So I think it's going to be a great matchup for him. Diggs, I think, actually has a bust game this week. Thielen, I think, will be the more productive receiver as he has been the last few weeks. Diggs hasn't been playing bad. It's just I feel like this week is one of those weeks where he's not going to do much of anything. Kyle Rudolph is another thing too. I don't think he's going to do as much as well either. I think this there's going to be a lot of pressure on Case Keenum this week. So I think he's just going to force the ball in a lot of spots, so it's going to be a lot of turnovers. Case Keenum is not a start. He's not a stream option for me this week. Of course, that's not a biased opinion at all because I'm a Rams fan, but I just think that's how it's going to go.
I think on this game interests me the most because it's number one defense, the number one offense coming in to play the Vikings at home, which is a great defense at home, especially. None of the offense can hear any of the calls in that dome. It is a very tough place to play. I know ever since they've got this thing built, every time Green Bay goes and plays there, it's a struggle. So Vikings have two very talented cornerbacks. So I actually think this might be the week where the offense runs more through Todd Gurley than usual, and this ends up being kind of a smash mouth game. I don't think Woods or Sammy Watkins has that big play potential this week. I think you can. I feel comfortable if I have a healthy Diggs or a healthy Adam Thielen. I start either one of them, but I stay away from Case Keenum. They're going to force him into some turnovers. But he's been very good at home.
I like how we're kind of flip flopped on this though. I just feel like people are expecting this because it's a young Rams team and they haven't really been playing anybody worth anything. I just think this is where the Rams actually prove themselves as an elite defense in this league. I think they have the talent. Of course, this is a biased opinion right now, but I just think the Rams are the real deal now. Especially, they just needed that right system, and I think McVay has provided that right system. Goff is so laid back as a quarterback in this offense. He's so confident in himself too now, not in a cocky way. He's just so laid back. He can handle pressure. He's very comfortable in the pocket now.
Right.
And he's been looking good.
He's a coin flip.
He's a coin flip for me in terms of wanting him to start this week.
I think it's a 21-27 ball game.
Who do you think is winning?
I gotta take the home team.
I think the Rams go to 8-2, but that's just me. I think it's a little bit closer of a game, but
yeah.
Actually, no, I'm gonna say blowout. I'm gonna say Rams take it easy.
Blowout.
Take it easy, yeah. I'm gonna say Rams get their average of yearly point. I'm gonna say Rams get 28 points. Vikings get 13.
28-13.
28-13.
Yeah.
I think Rams just get under their average for points because they're averaging 33 points a game right now. That's top in the league right now.
Let's do it. 28-13.
28-13. So that's a little bet for us.
I'm writing it down.
Write it down. 28-13.
So I'm going Vikings.
What'd you say?
I'm going to go. I'm going to say 26, 20, 31. Vikings.
26-31?
Yep.
Okay.
It's gonna be tough to stop those Rams defense. We'll see.
All right.
I just know. I think both teams. I think it's gonna be a field goal fest. That's why I'm trying to get these field goal numbers out. A couple touchdowns and then a ton of field goals.
Okay. Zerline's going to do his thing. I think that's going to be a no-brainer right there.
And the Vikings kicker has been very good at home.
All right, so we'll talk about two more 1:00 games, and that'll be the end of this episode. And then in our next episode, we'll talk about the 4:00 game, Sunday night game, and the Monday night football game. So we'll kind of split it up to make each little episode a little bit shorter because I know we got the gift of gab, so we kind of chat a lot. So the next game we're going to talk about is the Chiefs at the Giants, and this is going to be a blowout. I feel like Chiefs are coming back from the bye.
That's funny.
They should be healthy. Alex Smith is the must start of the week, especially in this situation. The Giants have just been god awful, and honest to God, they are, in my opinion, I think they're the worst. I think they would lose to the Browns if they played Cleveland. That's how bad I think the Giants are at this point.
I think the Giants' defense is very talented defense. They just hasn't been able to put it all together. I like all the McAdoo talk and all the him just brutally watching film apparently and just roasting the players and calling people out and I think the team is starting to hold each other accountable a little bit. I mean, it looks like some of the players in the team has just completely quit, and then it looks like there's 3 or 4 players who's really playing. If they all get on the same page this week, I don't see Kansas City putting up massive points. They have the worst linebacking core in the league. They're slow and unorthodox, so I see both the running back and the tight end having very much success. But I think that the Giants could do very well out wide with the talent they have at corner And I think they can kind of zone in on Travis Kelce and just kind of let Hunt, focus on letting their front seven get after Hunt. But that's not a good formula for them. So they're going to score points. But I think the Giants actually kind of limit them in a way. I don't think it's a blowout, but I don't think the Giants are in the ball game completely.
No, I don't know. I just think it's just Kansas City's going to come back motivated because they've been kind of in a slump the last few games before their bye. Alex Smith is going to have a monster game. Kareem Hunt, I see him bouncing back finally.
Yeah, me too.
So, and then Kelce, I think Kelce's still going to be Travis Kelce. And then, I'm curious to see what Tyreek Hill's going to do. He's one of those guys that's like a roller coaster ride. He has a good week, a bad week, and kind of fluctuates a little bit.
I think Jack Rabbit and Norris Jenkins kind of comes in and shuts him down this week. I'm starting him because he is who he is, and he gets so many touches from so many different angles.
Yeah, I see him as a wide receiver too. Yeah. I mean, because I think that in order for Kansas City to get back into how they were at the beginning of the season, they got to get Tyreek Hill more involved.
Yeah, I think he's a comfortable receiver too. If he is year one, he's low end because he could have a big play at any time he touches the ball. So, yeah. Giants, did I start?
There's only two guys I could think of.
I start Shepard and I start Ingram. Yeah, that's it.
That's the only guys you start because you're not going to start Eli Manning.
No, and you're probably not going to start Darkwa because Chiefs' defense, run defense, has been pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just not a fan of Darkwa right now.
Yeah,
I mean he's not bad.
He didn't look explosive last week.
No.
I mean, their offensive line has looked better.
Yeah, he was your start of the week last week.
He was. He didn't do too much.
He was very underwhelming.
62 yards or something.
Yeah, he didn't do very underwhelming performance.
Their offensive line has been better run blocking, but I still think the Chiefs, just the game script's not going to call for it when they're down by 2 scores or 3 possibly.
All right. Yeah, and I think the Chiefs win this game by multiple scores. I'm going to say they win it by 17 points.
I was going to say 10-31, so I'm right there with you pretty much.
All right, next game, I think
this is my most exciting game.
This one?
I'm super excited. I can't wait to watch this game.
I think this one's going to be a shootout just because I think the Redskins have to play keep up. That's why I think it's going to be a shootout.
I don't think they can.
I don't know either. I mean, but the Redskins are like one of those teams that surprise you more just because of how they play on offense with no talent.
They've had a couple of key injuries that nobody's talked about. Their first round draft pick, their defensive end, who was getting pressured. He was graded a top 5 run stopper and top 5 defensive end against the pass. He was top 5 in both categories and went down maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago. And ever since, their defense hasn't been the same. It's still been pretty good. Ryan Kerrigan's playing out of his mind. Josh Norman, of course, is Josh Norman. And they have a new free safety that's, I think, a 4th-round pick who's come in, did a really nice job. So their defense is pretty young and is super talented. They've been playing very well together. But I don't think you can stop Drew Brees in this ridiculous run game.
I just think you can't stop those running backs. I don't think anybody can at this point. That's what makes the Saints probably
try and limit them.
In my opinion, the Saints are the best team in the NFC right now.
It's pick your poison at this point.
I mean, you especially
it's so hard to beat the Saints. They do so many things so well. They can. Tegan's going to stretch the field. Mike Thomas he's jump balls if he needs to.
He's a check down guy too because he just runs those routes. He's a good safety blanket a lot for Drew Brees.
His whole what he does in that offense is just catch contested balls. He's going to line up across from you and say, if Drew Brees throws this ball to me, I'm going to catch it, point blank, and he does. The tight end's not giving them hardly any production, but they didn't have to because their running backs are so great. They've had a backup tight end caught a touchdown a few weeks ago. They get down to the goal line. If they start running play action, those tight ends could come alive. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying the backs are so good, the play action is there. You pick your poison with this offense. They can throw it deep. They can have contested catches. They can run the ball any way they want. Sean Payton is a mastermind at creating screens and different levels of running techniques, like, throwing out in the flats and just these little rubs and these little screen rubs and everything. He's a mastermind at those kind of routes. Mm-hmm. And he has both backs that can do that. I don't think Washington can stop that.
I think they can do a decent job at trying to keep up. Kirk Cousins finally bounced back after having 2 bad weeks.
Kirk Cousins is great.
He makes it work with no guys. Yeah. Like Terrell Pryor's just been a bust this whole time. And he's not going to be there next year. Crowder has been he'll have a good week, and then he has a handful of bad weeks in a row. Chris Thompson has been pretty much their him and Vernon Davis, in my opinion, have been their best offensive players.
Yeah.
Doxson's been the other guy that's been trying to keep up a little bit too. He's there,
hope
but
he gets a big play. That's it.
He's just a big play guy. So he's a guy that you're just gonna, you might. I wouldn't rely on him in my starting lineup. Like if you're in a bind and have him on your team, and you have a few guys on your bye week like Funchess or Robbie Anderson, who's a guy that should be in starting lineups. I mean, you're going to probably want to consider, if it's any Redskins receiver, Dotson's the guy that you're going to want to consider. But Chris Thompson, if Jordan Reed doesn't play, Vernon Davis is a must start.
Oh, yeah.
Just because because he gets the volume.
I actually might pick him up. I don't expect him to do a whole lot, but I don't have it. I have a Austin Seferian-Jenkins. He's on a bye this week, so I may go ahead and pick up Vernon Davis just as a precaution.
No, I like Vernon Davis this week. I mean,
this Saints defense is just so dominant. Lattimore is shutting down. Lattimore's out here giving people the Revis treatment.
Yeah, I mean in the games
it's
that Reed hasn't played, Vernon Davis, he does average he gets at least 60-something yards.
Yeah.
Here's the last 5 games for him: 65 yards, 67 yards, 20 yards. Reed did play in the game against Dallas.
Yeah.
And then 72 yards against Seattle, and then 76 yards against Minnesota.
Yeah, that's good production, really, from a tight end.
Especially this year.
Yeah, this year. That's what I was going to say. And then if just so happens he gets a 60 and a touchdown, you're looking at 12 points.
Mm-hmm.
You're extremely happy with that from your tight end.
That's great production right there.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, those are there's Cousins, Thompson, and then Vernon Davis. If Reed's out, those are guys I would consider. There's no one else on that offense I would consider starting at all.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the Saints win this game 10 points. Actually, I think it might be more, just because Saints have actually, I don't want to think they're as good as they are, but they are really good. Like their defense is playing like where it needs to be playing. Their offense is playing, even though Drew Brees seems like he's regressed this year, but that offense is actually playing pretty much perfect.
I don't think his statistics has regressed, but him as a player, I don't think.
No, he's.
It's just been a different.
It's just not. He doesn't have to pass the ball as much either, just because Ingram and Kamara.
So freaking good.
And like Ingram, Ingram's a guy that's a must start every week.
Yeah.
Same with Kamara.
has
RB1. He has RB1 ceiling. He's a low end RB. He's a high end RB2. That's all I think he's in his range is. Ingram's RB1. Both guys are RB1s. That's crazy. It's crazy to have
over 22 points last 3 weeks. I think he's RB1 now at this point, and he's going to give you. He's an extremely high ceiling and an extremely high floor, in my opinion. Because even if you don't get in the end zone, he's giving you at least 50 yards both ways. So you're getting 10 points out of him, at least, which is nice.
So. All right, so that's the end of the 1 o'clock games.
I think that Saints game goes. I think the Saints win by 6.
Oh, so you think it's going to be a closer game?
Yep. Kirk Cousins is marching down the field at the end.
I do have
Saints defense gets a stop.
I do have Kirk Cousins starting this week, but I feel like I kind of
can't give you a number, but I'm gonna say Saints by 6.
Yeah, I feel like I have Kirk Cousins starting this week over Jared Goff, but I feel like it's gonna be a coin flip Sunday morning for me. So we'll see. That's the end of the 1 o'clock games. We'll wrap up this episode with those, and we'll make a second episode for you, talking about the 4 o'clock games, Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football. So, and that is a wrap.
Wrap it up.